Hello and welcome to Work Tools 123, the tools you really need at work. Today we're going to talk about the three things that create a great culture at work. First off, why culture is important. We all have genetic predispositions to certain kinds of behavior, but it turns out our environments determine whether those tendencies actually emerge. W. Thomas Boyce has spent more than 3 decades researching child development. Turns out when you take kids with genetic tendencies towards bad behavior, whining, screaming, hitting, throwing tantrums, and put them in a positive environment, those kids do even better than kids without genetic predispositions towards acting up. We see that when kids with this kind of vulnerability are put in the right setting, they don't merely do better than before, they do the best, Boyce says. The research comes from a new breed of behavioral researchers, and it's described in Daniel Pink's new book, Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. The surprising part? Money's not number one. You need to pay people enough that they don't worry about money. After that, it's not a motivator. Crazy, right? Money's still important. In many studies, it ranks 4th, in fact, but it's not number 1. So what are the 3 things that do work? Well, it turns out when the job involves creativity or problem solving, 3 things consistently emerge as the foundation of a great work culture. Meaning, mastery, and control or autonomy. Meaning is the desire to do something that improves lives and promotes a greater good. A great example, how about disbanding and rebuilding a troubled police department from the ground up? That's what Scott Thompson, the police chief in Camden, New Jersey, did. And by the summer of 2014, shootings were down 43% compared to 2012. Thompson has been a Camden police officer for more than 2 decades, so it wasn't easy to dissolve the police force that included many of his best friends. But Thompson knew there was a bigger issue at stake, a greater good. There does get to be a point in time when the moral imperative outweighs everything else, Thompson told National Public Radio. The key is to constantly remind people of that greater good, that moral imperative, that good their work is doing, with consistent messaging. In recent studies, fundraisers who read about the things their work achieved raised more than twice as much money as those who didn't get the reminder. It's amazing that just a quick reminder of the good that their work does more than double their output. Number 2, mastery. That's defined as the drive to gut it out, master a difficult skill, and use it to help others and win the respect of your peers. A great example, Richard Stallman, who mastered complex computer code as a teenager and invented many of the building blocks of today's operating systems, went on to found the open source or free software movement in the 80s, the GNU project, and that led to the Linux operating system, which powers nearly all of the world's supercomputers, most of the servers powering the internet and financial markets, and in the consumer world, tens of millions of Android mobile phones and consumer devices. Those innovations help companies save money and grow faster, hire more people, and crank out better, faster, and smaller devices at lower prices. The key here, the key to mastery, is not intelligence or physical prowess. It's what researchers call grit, the ability to gut it out and get it done no matter what it takes. As Pink says, mastery is a pain. Number 3, control. Also called autonomy, control is the yearning to control our own lives, take hold of the tools and resources we need to get the job done and not be micromanaged. It doesn't mean doing everything yourself. It means being part of a team that promotes individual action, and that's where control comes in. What happens when you don't have control? A huge body of cutting-edge research suggests a lack of control is the main driver of workplace stress. Stress occurs in a wide range of work circumstances, but is often made worse when employees feel they have little support from supervisors and colleagues, as well as little control over work processes. That's what the World Health Organization says. So the key is when people have control, they don't feel stressed, they feel engaged with their work, they feel more productive, and they invent better ways of doing things. A great example is a study from researchers Teresa M. Amabile and Stephen J. Kramer. Amabile and Kramer collected nearly 12,000 diary entries to see what made people really happy and motivated at work, they found that making progress in your daily work, even small amounts of progress, was the number one factor. When people said they were having one of their best days, making progress was mentioned 76% of the time. The next best factor, collaboration, was mentioned only 53% of the time. So just to recap, remember the do's and don'ts. First, the don'ts. Don't withhold resources and tools. Get people the things they need to do their jobs. Don't be indecisive, and don't change goals without consulting your team. The do's. Definitely make it rain. Get people the tools and resources that they need. Be decisive. Make the hard decisions so people can move ahead. And set consistent goals that don't change without consultation, and praise people often in public when they do things well. And lastly, just remember the big three. In terms of making a great culture at work, there's three things that consistently emerge. Number one, meaning. 2, mastery. And 3, control. That's it for today. Thanks very much for visiting Work with Tools 123, and we'll see you next time.